What's happening to me? No. No.
The sixth episode in Spider-Man the Animated Series is of course known as The Sting of the Scorpion, which would go on to premiere on March 11th of 1995. Now right off the bat, as they've been trying to keep it simple and stick to the original stories, this episode is based on The Amazing Spider-Man issue number 20, which of course features the Scorpion's first appearance. And the Scorpion in this is voiced by Martin Landau, who would not be able to reprise his role after this episode due to winning an Academy Award for playing Bela Lugosi in Ed Wood. In all future appearances, the Scorpion would be voiced by Richard Mole. Now it is also interesting that chronologically this is actually the second episode of Spider-Man the Animated Series, but instead it aired as the sixth episode following The Menace of Mysterio. So depending on where you watched the series and where you acquired it, you might be watching this episode second or sixth. So as we get into this episode, we are quickly taken to see Peter Parker on what he believes is a date with the one and only Felicia Hardy.
Why can't you think of me as a boyfriend?
I have enough men asking me out. But a good tutor? That's hard to find.
Who of course would go on and become a ally/foe as the Black Cat. Felicia Hardy herself is voiced by the one and only Jennifer Hale, who most people will know as the female Shepard in the Mass Effect series. And since this series decided not to use Gwen Stacy, Felicia was seen as the rival to Mary Jane Watson. And while the two are on the date and Peter Parker is more or less getting sidelined and friend-zoned to the max, we see that they are being followed by a very suspicious figure. Somewhere in the distance, we see that there is an explosion that Spider-Man is able to pick up. He quickly swings off as Felicia keeps talking, and he has to go and fight these thugs.
He walked away from me. Who does he think he is?
After being rejected all evening by Felicia, it sure bolsters the old spirits to finally get into a little action.
Once he arrives there, they start shooting rockets at him. Fortunately, Spidey and his Spidey sense are really not to be outmatched by just simplistic rockets. Spidey may have saved the day, but unfortunately he lost the girl. He goes and retrieves the camera he had, which of course he was using to snap pictures of Spider-Man in action. Next day at the Daily Bugle, while Robbie Roberts is looking through the pictures, J. Jonah Jameson gets into Peter Parker's face, asking him how does he always get such elegant and extravagant shots. But of course Peter is very quick to leave the office and go and get some coffee. At this time he notices that the man that was following him last night is reporting to J. Jonah, and he's going to go investigate this himself. And he realizes that J. Jonah Jameson has been paying Mac Gargan to trail Peter Parker, in hopes of Peter leading him to Spider-Man so he can learn his secret identity. While Peter is quick to throw some witty insults around, this causes Jameson to have a flashback of the day his wife died, being shot at the corner of a street by someone he couldn't see. And while Spider-Man thinks that this might have worked and Jameson is going to stay off of his trail, that's not exactly what happens, as he's now more than ever determined to take down Spider-Man. And this is where Jonah makes an offer to Gargan. I can make you way more powerful, and together we will stop Spider-Man.
Get me the genetics lab at Empire State University. I want to talk to Professor Stillwell.
Jonah's plan is to take Gargan to this scientist and make him use the neogenic recombinator, which we of course saw the Lizard utilize. This time he is going to mix the natural predator of the spider, the Scorpion, in with human DNA, and of course a badass suit to go with it.
Spider-Man will at last meet his match.
After this, we catch up with Spider-Man, who is swinging through New York, with the Scorpion looking high from a rooftop, ready to strike at any moment.
Who the heck are you?
A real hero, you freak!
And for a big chunk of this episode, we're just going to get these two going at it, Spider-Man throwing quick quips at him and making fun of the way he looks.
If you want to join the Fantastic Four, you're in the wrong place.
And the fight is definitely going in favor of Gargan. Unfortunately, he does get distracted a few times due to Jonah's interference constantly yelling at him to strike Spider-Man down.
Who are you talking to?
Wouldn't you like to know?
Spider-Man is definitely outmatched, but he is still able to jump around and not be much of a target for Gargan, mainly due to his Spidey sense. But Gargan does manage to hit a bunch of concrete that starts to fall down on pedestrians. Spider-Man is able to save them right in time to be completely crushed by the water that is falling all over him, as he was just thrown into a water tank.
How about that? Spider-Man!
So Gargan is able to take out Spider-Man and is just about to unmask him, but J. Jonah Jameson just won't let him have this victory, and he starts calling him names to do it faster, which sends Gargan into a rage due to the fact that this is all that's been done to him his entire life. And once he sees the reflection of the man he's become, he absolutely goes insane, deciding to attack the Chopper and J. Jonah, who makes a getaway at the last second. Back at the Bugle, Jonah finally decides to spill the beans on why exactly he's after Spider-Man and why he hates masked men.
Years ago, a crime boss warned me to back off a story, but I refused. And one night a man came after me. A man in a mask. He aimed at me, but he hit her.
And Jonah admits that he's made a terrible mistake, and now he must take care of the creature he created. So he goes back to the scientist who made Gargan the Scorpion.
Making him mentally unstable. Professor Connors was right. Neogenics is too experimental, too dangerous to use on a human being.
It turns out that they just kind of did this experiment without even knowing what the results were. It's way too dangerous, and it's driving Gargan insane more than he already was. And we see that even if they wanted to, they cannot reverse this. It's too far integrated into his DNA. As Jameson tries to escape, he is captured by Gargan, who says he's gonna make him live long enough to see the pain he's caused him. As Spidey is on a phone talking to Aunt May, telling her not to worry, he realizes that Gargan is running around with a hostage, so he follows. Gargan ends up taking Jonah to Oscorp. So then Gargan explains what he's doing here.
Because radiation made me this way, and I'm gonna use it to change me back into who I was.
Gargan, I don't think that's how radiation works. You know, never mind. Just
You'll unleash radiation on the whole city!
while inside and activating everything he needs for his master plan, we see that Spider-Man arrives right on time. The nuclear chamber is activated, and Jonah Jameson and Spider-Man have to work together to stop Gargan.
The console. The red button. I'll bet my web shooter that's the emergency shutdown. Trust me.
So the plan is that Spider-Man is going to be the distraction while Jonah is the one to hit the red button. So of course he throws some insults at him.
Bad frog face. Because to me, you're nothing but a 2-bit, no-account, second-rate sewer breath baboon.
And of course Spidey knows this due to the personality that Gargan has, so he takes advantage of his short temper. Gargan goes absolutely insane and starts to crush the ceiling, which causes a bunch of stuff to start falling down, almost crushing J. Jonah Jameson until Spider-Man's web saves him, and he's also able to web up the Scorpion when he's distracted. So all is good now, and the two become friends.
No way. This doesn't change a thing between us. I still won't rest until you've been unmasked.
Of course it doesn't. This is J. Jonah Jameson we're talking about.
And I won't rest until you shave that stupid mustache. So we're even. Oh, and Fuzzhead, thanks for saving my life.
The next night, we see Peter Parker coming out of a building, and Felicia Hardy pulls up alongside him in her car. She says she appreciates Parker for what he tried to do, and that's teach her a lesson that sometimes she can be a little too much.
You're unpredictable. I find that interesting.
No kidding. Does this mean we can have dinner together?
No, maybe lunch.
And of course, he doesn't exactly get a date, but at least he gets lunch with a hot blonde. So, you know, he's won something this episode.
Maybe lunch. I think she's starting to like me.
So this is actually the second review I'm doing in this retrospective series, but it is the 6th episode, and depending on where you get it, you're gonna have a hard time following along due to some of the episodes being jumbled around. Overall, it is the 6th episode, and it is loaded with action. So if you watch it that way, it is good in that term because it features a lot more action than some of the previous episode. If you view it as the 2nd episode, it definitely doesn't do it justice. I do enjoy it for what it is, but I'm not the biggest fan of the Scorpion in this series. He almost seems too comedic to me. And this is one of those episodes that I'll watch it if it's on, but it's not something I'm gonna go and do repeat viewings on and get more out of it every time I watch it, or have the same amount of enjoyment or respect for it. But it's definitely an important episode for Spider-Man the Animated Series, as it does start to build all of his enemies out, and Scorpion being an important one at that. And of course we get some great character moments from J. Jonah Jameson, and Parker at least finally gets to have a competent conversation with Felicia and go to lunch with her, so not all is lost in this one. Overall, this is an episode that I would recommend, but it's not something that's a must watch.